In Jiangsu, a patient died after a doctor deceptively claimed that the surgery was successful. From June through August, China's real estate firms must repay $355 billion in debt. 6 major banks lower interest rates, and the Chinese use the cross-city deposits strategy to get higher interest rates. 4 Army tigers were denounced. Is the CCP Army in turmoil? It's all covered in today's China Truths. In Jiangsu, a patient died after a doctor deceptively claimed that the surgery was successful. Chinese media outlet The Paper reported on June 10 that a 62-year-old individual named Mr. Zhu was admitted to Suqian's First People's Hospital, the sole comprehensive tertiary hospital in the region, on March 18. He was placed under the care of the Department of Cardiovascular Medicine, and on March 31, he underwent cerebral arteriography with Qi, the deputy chief physician of the Department of Neurology, serving as the lead surgeon. During the initial consultation, the doctor informed the family members that without endovascular intervention, the patient faced the imminent risk of arterial occlusion, leading to a potential fatality. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the family members consented to the recommended procedure. On April 6, Qi, in his capacity as the lead surgeon, performed a percutaneous basilar artery stent implantation on Mr. Zhu for the second time. Subsequently, Qi relayed to the family members that the operation had been a success. On April 10, following his discharge from the hospital, Mr. Zhu's family members settled a sum of over $16,800 to cover the medical expenses, which included a portion of their contributions. The itemized bill and accompanying details revealed that the cost of sanitary materials alone amounted to nearly $14,000, with the imported Neuroform Atlas intracranial stent accounting for $6,580. However, on May 4, Mr. Zhu experienced a severe cerebral infarction and was swiftly transported by ambulance to Fengenting Hospital in Xihong County, Suqian City. A CT examination conducted at that time indicated severe blockage in certain intracranial arteries, yet no stent was found. Distrusting the test results, the family members suspected that the smaller hospital might not have been able to detect it and subsequently transferred Mr. Zhu to Suqian No. 1 People's Hospital. It was during this period that the chief surgeon, Qi Mao, admitted to the failure of successfully implanting a stent in the patient's intracranial blood vessel before these events. Following these developments, the family members swiftly relocated Mr. Zhu to Nanjing Drum Tower Hospital overnight. On May 5, Qi, accompanied by representatives from Suqian First People's Hospital, arrived at Gulu Hospital to engage in further discussions with the family members. In a recording provided by the family, Qi candidly confessed, "I have conducted numerous surgeries, and it is exceedingly rare for them to end unfavorably. However, at that time, the stent was not properly placed. I felt deeply embarrassed and humiliated. I couldn't face the situation." She openly acknowledged that there was no stent present in the patient's skull and expressed uncertainty about its whereabouts. According to the report, Qi is an accomplished medical professional and heads the interventional medical group at the Stroke Center. With more than 4,000 cases completed and more than a decade of experience in neurointerventional surgery, Qi is an expert in whole-brain angiography, intracranial and intracranial vascular stenosis stent implantation, and chronic occlusion vascular opening. Regarding the situation where fees were still charged despite the stent not being installed, Qi commented, "The stent may be useless, but it still represents a wasted resource. If you suggest waiving the charge, how can we obtain such items? Then, I'll have to ask the hospital to cover the cost, but I'm afraid of being punished." On May 10, Mr. Zhu underwent a subsequent stent implantation procedure at Drum Tower Hospital. However, post-operation, the thrombus blocked all intracranial basilar arteries, resulting in over 75% damage to the brainstem. Sadly, at noon on June 7, the patient passed away. Consequently, the family members of the deceased have accused the hospital and the medical staff involved of willfully concealing the failure to implant the stent, fabricating medical records and details of the operation, charging fees despite the stent not being installed, and intending to pursue legal action in the form of a civil lawsuit. This incident has garnered significant attention from netizens, with many people remarking, "This issue extends beyond mere technical matters, it involves grave ethical concerns and has far-reaching consequences." It's shocking. Patients are truly defenseless when facing doctors and can only be exploited. Some internet users also raised the issue of accountability and transparency within the healthcare system. They stated, "Delivery boys for food can be raided after every delivery, but we are unable to raid hospitals and doctors. This is outrageous. With so many individuals participating in an operation, can a doctor single-handedly manipulate medical records and surgical outcomes? How can patients trust the medical profession under these circumstances?" From June through August, China's real estate firms must repay $355 billion in debt. 2023 has earned the moniker debt repayment year for Chinese real estate firms. A recent report by a securities firm reveals that the combined domestic and foreign debt obligations in China's real estate sector for the year will reach a staggering $355.6 billion. The peak period for debt repayment is projected to occur between June and August this year. Tianfeng Securities Real Estate Research Team's report discloses that domestic bonds within China's real estate industry are set to mature at around $278.6 billion in 2023, reflecting a 13.3% year-on-year increase. Notably, approximately $152.6 billion of debt remain to be repaid, with the domestic debt repayment peak anticipated between June and August. As for overseas debt, U.S. dollar bonds in China's real estate industry are projected to mature at approximately $77 billion in 2023, marking a 31.4% year-on-year increase. The repayment scale of U.S. dollar bonds during the initial 4 months of this year has been limited due to the repayment incapacity of certain defaulting entities and their subsequent entry into the debt restructuring phase. Consequently, an outstanding amount of $70.8 billion remains to be repaid. The apex of the debt repayment period is expected to concentrate between September this year and October, as well as February and March of 2024. Since the start of this year, real estate companies have expedited efforts to address their debts, with many implementing debt restructuring plans. The Dongfang Jincheng research report suggests that the period from June to August of this year represents the peak of debt repayment for real estate companies. With limited access to external financing channels, the recovery of the real estate market in the second quarter will determine the ability of these companies to navigate the debt repayment peak and gradually regain stability. The crucial factor lies in their financing capacity. However, the likelihood of a significant sales recovery in the second quarter remains low. According to data from the Wind Financial Terminal, as of April 5 this year, 88 mainland real estate companies engaged in residential property development and listed on the A-share and Hong Kong stock markets had disclosed their annual performance for 2022. In comparison to 2021, the losses incurred by real estate companies have not only expanded further but have also witnessed a rising trend in the number of companies operating at a loss. Notably, a significant number of real estate companies have experienced a shift from profitability to a loss for the first time. Statistics compiled by Times Finance and Economics indicate that a total of 40 real estate companies incurred net losses after tax in the previous year, resulting in a collective loss exceeding $23.8 billion. 6 major banks lower interest rates, and the Chinese use the cross-city deposits strategy to get higher interest rates. On June 8, the 6 major state-owned banks in mainland China, China Construction Bank, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, Agricultural Bank of China, Postal Savings Bank of China, Bank of Communications, and Bank of China, collectively reduced the listed interest rates for short-term, medium-term, and long-term deposits, marking the end of the 3% era for interest rates. The interest rates for 2-year deposits were reduced by 10 basis points to 2.05%, while 3-year and 5-year term deposits saw a reduction of 15 basis points, reaching 2.45%. In addition to reducing the interest rates for long-term fixed deposits, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, and the Agricultural Bank of China, ABC, also lowered the interest rate for current deposits from 0.25% to 0.2%. On June 10, the Economic Observer reported that despite the continuous decline in bank deposit interest rates, Chinese individuals remain highly inclined to deposit their funds. They are resorting to the strategy of cross-city deposits to obtain higher interest rates and secure their savings. According to recent reports, a young woman named Ms. Hai, belonging to the post-1995 generation and residing in Shaoxing, Zhejiang, embarked on an early morning journey on the 3rd of this month. She woke up at 5 a.m. and dedicated 2.5 hours to rushing to a bank in Shanghai to make a deposit. Upon reaching the bank at 9:30 a.m., Ms. Hai encountered a bustling scene in the business hall, filled with depositors eagerly awaiting their turn. During her wait, she engaged in conversations with fellow depositors, discovering that several of them were also engaged in cross-city deposits similar to her own. Despite being a 1990s-born individual, Ms. Hai's circumstances changed due to significant company layoffs during the summer of 2021. After enduring over 4 months of unemployment, she realized that she could no longer rely on secondary sources of income. By accumulating savings, she hopes to better prepare herself for an uncertain future. Ms. Hai expressed that if it were still June 2021, she would be leading a more carefree lifestyle. However, unexpectedly, in pursuit of slightly higher interest rates on her bank deposits, she embarked on a journey to Shanghai by high-speed train. She emphasized that after enduring 3 years of the pandemic and the subsequent wave of unemployment, many young individuals have undergone a shift in their mindset and aspire to gradually accumulate savings. Towards the end of 2021, after successfully securing a position at a trading company, Ms. Hai initiated a savings deposit plan and adopted a method known as the 12 certificates of deposit. This method entails depositing monthly surplus funds, which are typically small amounts, as 1-year fixed deposits for 12 consecutive months. Consequently, after 1 year, a fixed deposit matures every month. Recently, Ms. Hai was informed by her friends about cross-city deposits and discovered that the 3-year deposit interest rate at Shaoxing Bank stands at 3%, whereas certain banks in Shanghai offer rates as high as 3.55%. With the ongoing economic slowdown in China, saving money has become a pressing concern for many individuals. On June 8, Wang Guochen, an assistant researcher at the First Research Institute of the Chinese Economic Research Institute, explained to the Central News Agency that the underlying issue behind China's economic growth lies in the lack of public confidence, which, in turn, stems from insufficient expectations regarding economic progress. Presently, the industries that historically bolstered China's robust economic growth are difficult to discern. A lack of industries means fewer chances for investment and employment. Therefore, the drop in deposit interest rates hasn't helped to end the confidence issue. 4 Army tigers were denounced. Is the CCP Army in turmoil? The Central Military Commission of the CCP has recently issued a document focusing on the normalization and institutionalization of political reorganization and training. Subsequently, the military newspaper published a series of articles and comments on June 2 and 5, specifically highlighting the comprehensive and thorough eradication of corruption tied to Guobuxiong, Su Kaiho, Fan Fengwei, and Zhang Yang. A recent publication by the CCP Military Daily has identified Guobuxiong, Su Kaiho, Fan Fengwei, and Zhang Yang as the 4 Army tigers. Guobuxiong, former vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, CMC, Su Kaiho, former vice chairman of the CMC, Fan Fengwei, a former member of the CMC and chief of the Joint Staff Department, and Zhang Yang, a former member of the CMC and director of the Political Work Department, were among the highest-ranking generals under scrutiny. In recent years, the Chinese Communist Party's anti-corruption campaign has maintained a low-profile approach with minimal disclosure of fallen generals. According to the analysts, the CCP officials are reluctant to make these cases public to avoid impacting morale and military preparations. Since the 19th National Congress of the CCP, Xi Jinping has taken a more discreet approach to dealing with issues within the military. Except for General Fan Fengwei, who was dismissed in early 2018, the authorities have handled problematic generals without formal public reports. Instead, Indirect announcements were made by the National People's Congress, including the removal and demotion of several deputies. Among them were Lieutenant General Rao Kai-shuan, former Deputy Commander-in-Chief of Staff of the Strategic Support Force, Major General Su Xianghua, former Deputy Commander of the Western Theater Army, Major General Meng Zhongkang, former Political Commissar of the Jiangsu Provincial Military Region, and Major General Yi Qing, former Political Commissar of the Hainan Provincial Military Region. On April 29, 2021, Song Shui, the former Deputy Chief of Staff of the Navy, was removed from his position as a deputy to the National People's Congress. At the end of 2021, reports surfaced regarding the control of Liu Yazhou, a retired high-ranking general. While numerous Hong Kong media outlets have covered Liu Yazhou's case this year, there has been no official confirmation or statement thus far. According to a report by Hong Kong's Ming Pao on May 24 of this year, there were unofficial reports from Beijing indicating that Zhang Zhenzhong and Liu Guangbin, the two deputy commanders of the Rocket Army, were taken into custody for investigation in April. They joined the ranks of the latest Army Tigers to be probed. However, no official notification has been issued regarding this matter. Lieutenant General Shan Hong, the deputy commander of the CCP Strategic Support Force and the commander of the Space Systems Department, was listed as a representative for the 20th National Congress elected by the military last year. Surprisingly, his name was absent from the list of representatives announced on September 25 of the same year, and the reason for his exclusion remains unknown. On June 6, the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection of the CCP addressed anti-corruption efforts in an article published in the party's media outlet, People's Daily. The article stated that after the 20th National Congress of the CCP, 39 tigers had been dealt with. However, the Epoch Times investigation revealed that only 29 central government officials have been officially disclosed, indicating that the list of 10 dismissed individuals has not been made public. In an interview with the Epoch Times on June 10, current affairs commentator Li Lini pointed out, the decision not to disclose the list is merely an attempt to mitigate the impact on Army morale. However, for the CCP, this is an impossible task. The military is plagued by rampant corruption, which inevitably undermines its combat effectiveness. Consequently, future military conflicts are at risk of failure. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.